Instead of worrying about where I'm coming from, why don't you worry about how ugly and fat you have become? Have you checked yourself at the mirror recently? Do you know how ugly you look? Even my Odogu cannot even rise merely looking at you. In a small village nestled among the rolling hills of Africa, there lived a young couple, Ugo and Oyichia. They were deeply in love, their bond unbreakable, and admired by all who knew them. Their love story was one that the village elders would tell with fondness and joy. Their parents loved them so much and approved of their relationship and encouraged them to settle down with each other so that they can start giving them grandchildren before they would join their ancestors, they would jokingly say to their children. Ugo was a very handsome trader who has a big shop in the market that deals with different kinds of materials, ranging from lace materials to Hollandis and to George materials. He is a very wealthy businessman, while Oyichia was a beautiful woman with a smile that could light up the darkest night. Her skin glows like that of a river goddess, and she has a lovely curvy shape that can make any man's head spin whenever she passes by. Lots of men in that community were actually jealous of Ugo because they wished that Oyichia was theirs. When they decided to marry, the entire village celebrated for days, knowing that their union was blessed by the ancestors themselves. After their marriage, Oyichia took in. The pregnancy was not an easy one for Oyichia because she added so much weight and began to lose her charm and glow. She gradually became shapeless and unattractive. Her nose got bigger and her face was rough, that if you hadn't known her before, you could have sworn that she was not the same person as the ever beautiful Oyichia. Ugo complained to his friends secretly, telling them that so much is happening to Oyichia's body. But his friends encouraged him and told him that once she delivered her baby, that she would regain her body back. Few months later, Oyichia gave birth to their first child, a healthy baby boy, and they named him Kosita Ademma. The joy that filled their home was immense, and for a time, their happiness seemed boundless. However, as time passed, Oyichia's body began to change to worse. The toll of childbirth brought about unexpected transformations. She gained extra weight, her once smooth skin developed pigmentations, and the radiant glow she once had seemed to fade. With pimples all over her face, the worst was when her once beautiful, attractive voice became coarse like that of a man. Ugo couldn't take it anymore. He was losing his mind. I thought they said everything will return to normal once she put to bed, he would ask himself, while different thoughts crowded his mind. Ugo, who had always adored Oyichia, began to see her differently. Instead of the woman he once cherished, he saw only the changes that motherhood had brought to her body. His words, once kind and loving, turned harsh and cold. "You have let yourself go, Oyichia," Ugo would say, his voice dripping with disdain. "Look at you. How can you expect me to be happy when you look like this? How do you even expect my Odogu to rise and make love to my woman when only the sight of her disgusts me?" Ugo said to her as he walked out of their bedroom in the middle of the night. Oyichia's heart shattered a little more with each cruel word. She would look at herself in the mirror, tears streaming down her face, wondering where the beautiful woman she once knew had gone. She felt worthless, ashamed, and powerless to change the situation. Ugo's behavior grew worse over time. He began to seek the company of younger and more attractive women outside his marriage. Despite his friends' advice to him, he still continued what he was doing. He would go out and come back home very late in the night. When Oyi asked him where he was coming from, he would insult her. "Ugo, where are you coming back from this time of the night? Don't you know that you are a married man with a wife and child at home? Why are you doing this to us, Ugo?" Oyichia demanded bitterly one day. Ugo answered her with so much anger. "Come, this woman is like you don't have shame. Oh. There are things you should be worried about, Oye, not me coming back late. For example, you should be worried about your looks, your size, your shapelessness. Have you checked yourself in the mirror recently? You disgust me, woman. Please excuse me. I had a long day," he said as he passed her and went inside. Oyichia was filled with tears as she fell on the ground and started crying. The pain was becoming unbearable and is tearing her heart apart. She was broken. It was so painful because she went through all this pain to bring in a life to this world, and all her husband could do to encourage her was abuse and make her feel worthless with any little opportunity he gets. He began to flirt with women openly, even in Oyichia's presence. His actions a clear signal that he no longer valued his wife, as he always seizes any opportunity he gets to call her ugly. The villagers noticed and whispered among themselves, but no one dare confronted Ugo. Even his friends got tired of his attitude towards his wife. Then their families began to hear gossips and whisper of what was happening. They started making arrangements to call them for a meeting. One day, as Oyichia was sitting under the old bamboo tree, cradling her son Kosi in her arms, she saw Ugo coming back home, laughing with a young woman. Her heart ached with pain she had never known before. She felt like a shadow of herself, lost and alone. "How dare you, Ugo? Why would you bring a woman home to our home?" She only sat down there and wept bitterly. As to the insult her husband spat on her face by bringing in another woman to their home. But in that moment of despair, a wise old woman passing by approached her. The old woman had seen many seasons come and go and had wisdom that spanned generations. She placed a gentle hand on Oyichia's shoulder and said, "My child, do not let cruelty of others define your worth. You are a mother, a giver of life, and that is a strength beyond measures, a strength given to you by the Creator Himself. Know your worth. You are a strong woman," the old woman said to her. Oyichia looked into the old woman's eyes and saw the truth in her words. She realized that her value was not determined by her appearance, but by the love and care she gave to her family. With newfound strength, she decided to confront Ugo, because their family had invited them for a meeting in order to discuss what is happening in their marriage and to settle their disputes. That evening, as the sun set and the family gathered around their table, Oichia stood before Ugo and their families. Her voice, though trembling, carried the weight of her pain and frustration. Ugo, she began, you have treated me with such cruelty and disrespect. You have forgotten the love we once shared, the vow we made. I may not look the same, but I am still the woman who loves you, who bore your child, who has stood by your side, I don't deserve this ill treatment from you. It is not a crime to be a mother, Oichia said as tears poured down her face. The family members also advised Ugo, telling him that his wife needs him more than ever right now. That marriage is a thing of two. With so much care from both parties, they can overcome any situation and live through it to tell the testimony. After their family's advice to Ugo, Ugo apologized in the presence of everyone, stating that he is now a changed man. He went ahead to assure them that it will never happen again. But when they got home, Ugo became worse. He would carry women into their home and into their matrimonial bed. He doesn't value Oichia anymore. He doesn't care anymore about Oichia as he stopped giving her money to take care of herself. One day, he brought one of his numerous women home. He forced Oichia to watch them as he made love to another woman. He told her to watch as he lifted her up. Can you see this, Oichia? He said. Can you see how portable and fit a real woman is and should be? Not as fat as a bag of beans, just like you. He mocked her as him and his side chick laughed out so loud. Oichia cried as she ran out of the room and ran into her own room. As she stood looking at the mirror in her room, she hit herself in bitterness. She hit her tummy as she said to her reflection on the mirror, you used to be the most beautiful woman in this community. Now look at you. You are so ugly. Look how fat you have become. Nobody wants you anymore. You are worthless. I hate you. I hate you. She screamed at herself as she cried and hit herself. Ugo openly told his side chick that his wife's vagina smells and she is ugly. He told them that he had never loved his wife, that it is the idea of her beauty that he loves, and now the beauty is no longer there, and she disgusts him so much. So these women will use all of these words to insult Oichia whenever they meet her, telling her that she is wasting her time and her life with the man that doesn't love her. Those women also mock her skin that now has different colors. Oichia was broken. The thought of life annoys her. When she looks at her son, she sees him as the reason why she is passing through all this, why her life has fallen apart, as she began to despise her own child. One day, as Oichia made her way to the market, she encountered Ekene, an old friend who had always harbored feelings for her. Ekene was a kind and compassionate man, and his heart ached at the sight of Oichia's tattered and unkempt appearance. Oichia, is everything all right? Ekene asked gently, his eyes filled with concern. At his words, Oichia couldn't hold back her tears. Seeing her pain, Ekene guided her to a quiet, cool spot where they could talk. As they sat down, Oichia began to pour out her heart to Ekene, narrating the torment she had endured since giving birth to her child. how her husband has abandoned her and disgusted her, and always find every opportunity to insult and humiliate her in the presence of his side chicks. Ekene, my life has become a nightmare, she sobbed. Ugo no longer loves me. He says terrible things about how I look, and he doesn't care about me anymore. He treats me like I am worthless. He says I am ugly, that I am an ugly being. She cried as she said those words. Ekene listened intently, his heart breaking for the woman he had always admired. Oyichia, you deserve so much more than this, he said softly. You are a wonderful person, a beautiful woman, a caring mother, and you have so much to offer. Ugo is a fool for not seeing all that. Oyichia wiped her tears, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in a long while. Thank you so much, Ekene. Your words mean much to me than you can imagine. Do you know when last I heard the word that I am beautiful? She said to Ekene. Ekene hugged her and reassured her that everything will be all right. Days turned into weeks, and Oyichia found herself confiding in Ekene more and more. He became her solace, a source of strength and encouragement. He reminded her of her worth and beauty, not just in appearance, but in the kindness and love she carried within her. Ekene had left the community. Immediately, Ugo declared his intentions of marrying Oyichia. His heart was broken because he had always loved Oyichia genuinely and truly. But Ugo wanted Oyichia because of the praise he would receive from his peers and friends as the one who finally married the most talked about woman in the community. Ekene came back after the death of his father. He was to bury his father and return back to where he was. But after seeing what Ugo had reduced Oyichia into, his heart was broken for her. He regretted never fighting for what he truly loves. He blamed himself for being a coward. This time around, he wasn't ready to be a coward anymore. He said, I am going to fight for the woman that I truly love. With Ekene's support, Oyichia rebuilt her life gradually. She found joy in her son again, in her work, and in the friendship that uplifted her. She discovered a resilience and beauty within herself that no one could take away. Ekene gave her different herbs to drink gradually. The pigmentation on her skin gradually disappeared, as she also exercised her body in order to burn out the excess fat. Gradually, Oyichia began to regain her confidence back. Her glow was gradually returning back, as she was no longer intimidated or broken by Ugo's words or deeds. One day, Ugo confronted her and said, I heard that you and that stupid poor boy called Ekene is frolicking around the whole village, and he is the reason why you now have the guts to talk back when I talk, right? Have you seen yourself lately? Do you think any man in his right senses would want to marry you? Do you not know that I am even doing you a favor by marrying you? Don't you know that you are old and fat and ugly? No man will want to marry you, Oyichia. So stop fooling around. You better carry this your ugly self and stay at a place. There is nothing out there for you, he said to her as he walked out of the house. Oyichia stood there and smiled as she stared at the mirror and said to herself, I am the most beautiful woman on earth. I am smart. I am intelligent. I am incredibly beautiful. I am enough. My body is a channel which a life was created, and I am proud of my body. She said these words of affirmation which Ekene had taught her to say to herself. Ugo came back that evening to an empty house with his wife and kids nowhere to be found. He literally did not bother as he came in with one of his numerous women. He didn't bother to look for his wife or his son. 3 months later, Ugo's parents called him over and told him that Oyichiya's family have returned the bride price on their daughter's head. Ugo laughed and said that was easy, and he started bragging, "Mama, you people should not worry. She thinks that there is anything outside there. When she sees Shege, she will run back to me. She thinks anyone would want her. Papa, don't bother yourself," he said as he laughed hysterically. His father cautioned him and told him to go and get his family back. He added, "What an elder sees sitting down. If a child like, let them climb the tallest mountain, he will not see it. Oyichiya is a good woman. Please, my son, go and bring her back and treat her right. Let us look for a black goat now that there is light, before it will get dark." But Ugo replied, "Papa, calm down, no. Na dem dey rush us so. She will come back. Don't worry yourself. She will come back when she sees that there is nothing in the street for her."